And welcome to Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the people who live and work here in Southwest Missouri, and those individuals with entrepreneurial spirit who work to better the lives of others or put pen to paper to write books about the stories and history of the Ozarks and its people. I'm your weekly host, Scott Meier. Today, we're going to explore the world of one of my favorite worlds of broadcasting and music. And with me today is 92.9 The Beat host, Mason, who you probably know him as. Real name, his non-radio name is Dustin Males. Mason, you want me to call you Mason? You want me to call you Dustin? What do you
Honestly,
want?
whatever's more comfortable for you.
Don't
I've
call
got
you
like
late for
7
dinner?
different names. Yeah, right.
But he's, and it's funny. That'll actually be part of it. Let's open our whole conversation that way. Radio many years ago used to throw out names, made you take a name that was cute. The one of the most interesting in our company of Midwest Family. I worked for the guy in La Crosse, Wisconsin when I was in college. His name was Dick Record. His real name was Dick Record, and when he went on the radio, his first program director called him PK Powers, and we all scratched our heads because Dick Record, at a time when people played records, would have made a heck of a lot more sense than PK Powers. But
Oh yeah.
but in your case, you came after records. I would assume you started in radio, maybe with CDs.
No, we were just past that. We were just about. It's just about 10
It's
years
already
ago.
digital.
So,
Well, see,
yeah.
you're a young guy. You're a young guy,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and who named you Mason? Where did that come from?
Oh man. So I had a back and forth with my boss at the time when I first got on air. She's like, it needs to be something, catchy, but not too confusing. And I kept throwing things out, and she's like, no, not that, not that, not that. I was getting really terrible suggestions from my friends, like
Sure,
Dustin Styles, but with a Z. And I was like, that's so bad.
that's so
Uh,
stylish. It's so
it's so
stylish.
stylish. They wanted lasers and stuff.
Yeah,
Anyways, I decided to go with something super generic that she couldn't shoot down.
and that was
So,
Mason.
and Mason,
Well, what,
pretty,
what were
pretty,
what were
pretty
some of your ideas? Let's hear those. Let's see how crazy they were.
Oh man, D Money. Yeah. No, yeah, they were pretty bad. She was right in
D
shooting most
Money.
of them down.
Okay,
D
well,
Money.
if this didn't work out, you could always be a rapper, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or
So
somebody call me D-bag. I don't think that was a good one
I
either,
don't think
honestly.
I don't think that's one that you want to go by. No, it's not necessarily a good. It's not really a good reference. I was always Scott Meyer. I figured, what the hell, I worked with PDs who spent more time worrying about the programming of the station, less time about who was on the radio, what their names were.
Yeah.
So let's go back to when I was a kid. Which is in the late 60s, early 70s. Radio was really at its peak. It was, if there was ever a golden age of radio, I would argue it wasn't before television. Because it was it was new and they were doing a lot of things, but it was like a newspaper with words on the air, and then television came along and kind of took away a lot of the radio excitement. But in the 60s and 70s, really right before FM became the thing, radio was king. You had all these huge announcers, and so I always wanted to do it. I listened at night. I listened under the covers at night. Listen to these stations in faraway places like Chicago and Little Rock, and always wanted to do it. But here you are. You're what, in your early 30s?
Mid.
Mid, okay, well, mid
Mid. I
30s,
look
okay.
like I'm early 30s, but no.
But so when you were my age, when I was thinking about the 14s and 15s, I was 14 or 15 years old when I was really getting serious about it. A 15-year-old kid these days, that would have put it in the year, what year? If you're 35, help me, my
Like
math isn't so good.
like late 90s.
Okay, so late 90s,
Mhm,
MP3s were becoming a thing, digital was
mhm,
becoming a thing.
yep.
Why'd you pick radio?
Good question. I just kinda fell into it, honestly.
Yeah,
Uh, I was going to college for audio and video and just large collaborative things with, like, TV, film, video game, stuff like that,
mhm,
and, had a teacher as her first semester, didn't know how to use the, audio mixing equipment that we had at the thing because it was her first semester ever teaching.
sure.
But, I mean, she's been in radio forever. Val? You remember Val?
Oh, that was Val was your teacher?
Yeah, she was my first, broadcasting teacher, and then
Well, I'll
she's
be
like,
darned.
"Hey,
Okay.
you know what you're doing, I think. So, you wanna come do an internship?" And then bit bop bang, Next
And
thing
that
you
was
know,
that.
I was producing a weekend talk show on an AM FM station for a bit, and then just hopped over to nights on Top 40.
So you started across the street. You started at what was it, Journal at the time?
Yeah, yeah, that's why I say across the pond.
Right, right. So that's what station? Power?
Yeah, it was Power originally. Yep,
Okay, all right.
and
So
then
you've kind
well,
of been a CHR guy, and
most
learning under Val. You know, Val was our operations manager for about 2.5 years. Really knows the business, really knows the industry. I would guess you got some good pointers from her about how to be a talent as opposed to simply somebody who's just announcing records.
yeah, she was. I credit her, and honestly Scott Ellis because he's the one that trained me on all my stuff.
Hmm.
As like my key mentors in radio. They're the people who got me in here, showed me the ropes, taught me how to take my weird, quirky personality and make it like appealing to other people.
Sure. So are you
So
born and raised Springfield?
I say mostly. I was actually born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Broken Arrow,
Okay.
just a little offshoot. But I mean, I spent little to no time there. I moved here in grade school, and
So
then
you went to Missouri State. That's where you got your
yes, I
education.
actually got the tail end of SMSU for 1 year. So
Okay. So
that's
you're
how long
both.
that was.
Well,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Uh, my guest today on Around the Ozarks Spotlight is Mason. That's how you know him on 92.9 The Beat. His real name is Dustin Males, but we'll go back and forth between Mason and Dustin sometimes. But, you know, Dustin, you have far more ability than simply opening a microphone and talking on air. You've become really talented on the digital side of things. I know that's a passion of yours, fair?
Oh yeah, definitely. I did some work on like videos and whatnot, and then I decided I really like video editing too. So I hopped into that, and now, as you probably know, I'm doing a whole bunch of videos and ads and commercials for local businesses.
You know, one of the reasons I like to talk about that on this show in particular is if, you know, when the show airs, it airs on all four of our stations, but it also airs on the beat on Sunday mornings. If a young person hears a show like this, I don't know how many of them are really think about a career in radio these days.
Mhm.
Not certainly not like it used to be even when you were younger. Yet here you are, you know, you're on the air, you're a broadcaster, but you're also a producer, you're creative, and you're also a musician. So I mean, you've got a lot of things going on, and it allows you hopefully to be a better broadcaster.
Oh, definitely. I think they all like synergistically, all those skills grow together. Because being in radio, I've noticed it's not just one thing you do. I don't just sit and talk in front of a microphone, which is part of it, but you've got to you've got to learn how to connect to audiences. You got to learn how to uh, develop your personal skills, your personality, and
Hmm.
uh, learn how to market that as well, which is huge across like any industry. It doesn't matter what you're in. Marketing what you have, how do you package what it is you're giving to the community is really important. So,
I'm
uh,
trying to think of the word, and because I'm an old guy, sometimes I forget some of the some of the words. The current pop culture word for somebody who uh, has that ability to generate, you know, viewers in the thousands and millions, and
mm,
is called a, help me, what are
influencer,
they?
I think
Influencer.
still
That's
is
right.
what we're
Okay.
calling them.
Right. So, you know, influencers, interestingly enough, we got a new neighbor last summer across the street here in Springfield, where we live, and he's an influencer. He's a YouTube influencer.
Mhm.
That's his full time job. Didn't know that could be a full time
Right?
job.
Can you imagine when YouTube
And
first came out? People would be like, "Oh, that's what I do for a living. I'm on YouTube."
well, what's so strange, and it's so not you. Since I've known you now for a couple of years, he
Mhm.
has difficulty speaking to you one on one. But
Oh,
I've watched his stuff on online, and he's actually quite funny, and he does some things that are very creative, obviously, to be able to afford a nice house as an influencer, getting paid
mhm.
by YouTube, I guess. But you know, speak to that if you will. Does it help you because you're a broadcaster? Do you think to maybe be able to be an influencer and not lose that connectivity with people in person?
Yeah. I honestly like new media is a really, really strange situation because there's so many people that are, like you said, not very good like face to face so much, but
Mhm.
once you get them in front of a camera, they, just sitting in their room or whatever in a comfortable environment, they'll just let loose, and then you get to know so much about that person. And like you said, they make so much better connection with the people that they're trying to relate to. And I mean, something can be learned from those people who don't judge a book by its cover, I
Mhm.
guess. Like, I like to think of myself as a extroverted introvert. So I kind of
How does that work?
so I figured out, uh, if you go out to a party or whatnot and you feel like it's wearing you down and you need to take a break and re-energize,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's what I consider introverted, right?
Right.
If you go out to the party and you're like thriving and it's just building up that energy, that's an extrovert. Somebody who likes both but is more comfortable with one or the other. So I love performing. I love getting out there like on stage. I love being on radio, interviews, stuff like that. Whole lot of fun, but immediately afterwards, shut down, hermit up, you
Yeah.
know, sit
I get
down,
it.
watch Netflix.
I'm not so sure that's not just simply part of our world today. I think that's kind of, there were days when I would leave work and the last thing I wanted to do was talk to anybody. I mean, it's you spend all day interfacing with people and their issues and all of that, and sometimes it's nice just to have the quiet time.
Yeah.
My guest on Around the Ozarks Spotlight today is Mason, who does middays, right? Mid afternoons,
Oh,
middays, mid
I'm
mornings.
on 2 to 6 PM now on
Oh, two to
92.9
okay, two.
every single weekday.
So he drives
And
you home. He takes you home.
mhm.
Geez, you get to be a little bit of a rock guy when you get to do that. I'm taking you home, and it's five
Oh, yeah.
o'clock. But he's on 92.9 The Beat every day, and
The best part of the day, the end of the workday.
the end of the workday. It's interesting. When you first started in broadcast, which wasn't that many years ago, but what, 15 years ago now?
I think I'm just over 10.
Okay, so 10 years ago, how much of it was, as we call it inside the business now, voice tracking, where you literally lay down tracks for, the talk tracks between the music while you're not sitting with an open mic live on air versus, didn't you start with a live mic?
Oh, yeah, almost everything was live.
Hmm.
Every single break used to be live every single time. Very, very nerve-wracking, honestly, because like, you get phone calls, you get people who maybe don't know that they're on live, might say something they're not supposed to, a whole bunch of pressing buttons really quickly. But the industry has drastically changed. I mean,
Hmm.
people are now there's like one person sometimes recording a show in multiple markets across the nation, and it's it's a little weird, honestly. It's a little different. It's
Well,
different than when I first came
it's
in.
different, yeah, and it's tough to say sometimes that it's better or worse. It's just
Mhm.
different, and it does afford you time to do other things when you're not sitting in front of a live mic that can enhance your show.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is certainly different. We're not going to talk about your music yet. We'll get to that after the break. But I want to let the audience know that you're not only a digital talent and a broadcast talent, but also a music talent as well. And
Mhm.
you can talk to people about your not really a band. What is it? Well, you're in a band,
I've
but
got
what?
4 or 5 bands going
No,
on.
but the guys when you get up on stage and you do the kind of
Oh.
the lip
Oh.
syncing thing.
The lip sync. We don't lip sync. We're professionals. We sing up there. We sing, we dance. We don't write our own music though. Uh,
And that's called, what's that group called?
Beastie Boys hip hop tribute band called the Grasshopper Unit. Definitely
That
let you in
that's
on
a
some.
mouthful. Well, we'll talk about the Grasshopper Unit and
A lot of
and
fun.
also a little bit about the Beastie Boys when we come back in a moment with more on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. We'll be back in just a minute. And welcome back to Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. Today, we're with Mason from 92.9 The Beat. Mason has been a host. Yeah, you can actually wave now. That's the neat thing
Hey,
about
yeah.
video and audio podcasts and radio shows. But you can hear Mason every day from 2 to 6 on 92.9 The Beat. He's been there for quite some time, was doing middays for a long time. Now you're on Afternoon Drive. And, well, that's a big step up. Afternoon
Yeah.
Drive is actually, one could argue Afternoon Drive is as or more important than morning drive used to be. There's so much competition for people's ears and eyes in mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Afternoon, like you said, is your chance to take them home from work.
Exactly. I was honestly thinking about maybe throwing around an afternoon show, like a morning show, but
Mhm.
in the evening when
No,
I'm driving from work.
I think everybody. I think most people are looking for entertainment or a way to get their heads and minds off of other things. You can find music anywhere, right? You can find music
Exactly.
on Spotify and Pandora. You can find it on CDs, if people still play those sometimes, or your digital music library. But in between the songs, and you got something to say, and someone like yourself that's got such a broad background, that's interesting, and it's still show business. Anytime I talk to somebody new who wants to talk about getting into digital or radio or both, that's what I always tell them. It's still show business.
It
And
is,
and
and it's
right?
not as small of a world as it once was. Like you said, voice track now allows more time to do Facebook Lives or some Instagram reels or get out there in a different way. So
It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
But it like you said, influencers rule, and it allows you to become an influencer, and that's kind of a cool thing. It's a whole new opportunity.
Mhm.
Now, speaking of that, you're part of this. What do you call yourselves? Is it a hip hop group? Is that
Yeah.
fair, or is that
So
like last year?
no, we originally started as a Beastie Boys cover band, right? We
Hmm.
just we threw a show, all Beastie Boys, with Machine Gun Symphony, local band. Love
Right.
them, right? Jay Stevens, amazing. Um, and then we decided to just branch off from there, and we've been going for about almost 3 years now, I think. 2,
Well,
3 years.
for the folks that don't know what you do, I've had a chance to see you on stage a couple of times. Last time you were injured on stage.
Yeah, throwing
Uh,
back a bit.
well, it's really high energy.
Oh, extremely high energy, jumping around on stage. We at least one of us is a hype man all the time. If you go out to a Grasshopper Unit show, you're gonna have a good time, even if you hate the music.
How often
Like,
how often do you guys play?
about once a month.
Oh, you do. Okay, and
Just
and
yeah.
primarily where do you typically have your shows?
Um, Anywhere. We've played a sabbatical for some dude at Paragon Architecture. We've done the Chili Cook-Off and Wingapalooza a couple
Hmm.
years. Sadly, we won't make Chili Cook-Off this year, but that's okay. We'll hit the next one. We do some stuff in Lake of the Ozarks during the summer, and
Oh, you
then
do.
yeah, and then around town we
Okay.
do Kiss Kiss Bar and Grill, maybe southbound.
All right.
Um, Whoever will have us, honestly, would
Well,
think about.
I hope if you're listening to this program and you see that these guys are going to perform, take the time to go see it. I mean, it's high energy. It's a lot of fun. I
Mhm.
didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. I didn't realize you guys are going to dress up and jump around the stage, and
Oh, yeah, it's the whole
it,
thing,
it's
full on
great.
pageantry, we're rock stars up there.
No, you are, and you can really see that you're having fun. I mean, I think that most importantly, you're really enjoying your time on stage, and
Yeah,
that makes it fun for everybody. Now, I
that's
think you were good enough. The other side of Mason is one of music. Not that Beastie Boys aren't music, but is one of more of a musical
yeah,
Mason who plays guitars and sings.
yep, I play a bunch of instruments, classically trained, if you will.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I play some
Okay.
classical
Are you
guitar,
a 12 stringer or a 6 stringer?
6 string, but it is the classical guitar, so it's got the nylon strings.
Well, would you be good enough, since we did set this up before the program, to maybe be able to hear a little bit of that? Would you be good enough to play a little something for the
Yeah,
folks that are listening and watching?
I've got an original I can probably pull out, and I got
All
this bad
right.
boy right here, so
Always wanted to, my wife and I, the first time we didn't decided to give each other our rings back before we got married, it was because we were taking guitar lessons, and
aw.
it didn't work out real well. So I play the ukulele now, not well, but it's better than guitar. But go
Awesome.
ahead.
Alright, you can hear that, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay, this is an original I wrote,
okay.
so it's kind of based off the Moonlight Sonata, but you can't really hear it on the guitar.
All right.
I can't seem to focus. These days go by like dreams. and my memories fading with each passing second, and my memories failing me. What is there to hold on to? What can I do? Searching for meaning by the light of the moon. Where has my mind gone? Where has my mind gone? Started out with nothing, now I'm wanting nothing more. Can't seem to get around without slamming a couple of doors and burning a few bridges. Now I don't know what to say. I'm stuck on this island and I can't get away. Moonlight off the waves of the ocean, tides crashed against the shore. Now I'm sinking further than I ever have before. Under the weight of the ocean, grasping for breath, couldn't live for nothing. Now I've got nothing left. Please tell me, where has my mind gone? Where has my mind gone? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Wow, very good. Had no idea.
Oh,
So you okay? Now this opens up a whole. That was Mason on 92.9 The Beat,
yes.
my guest right now on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. You do so many things, and you do a lot of things very well.
Thank you.
Which are you most passionate about? I mean, the writing? Is it the music itself? Is it the
I love
editing? The
I've-
creative? I mean, what?
Music in general is just like my deepest of passions.
Mhm.
It provides so much in my life. It's taught me so many things, how to be a better person, organization, structure, meaning, then deeper internal finding myself, expressing myself, allowing other people to do that too, empowering them to like share their voice. I
Mhm.
love that. And then I guess the other side would probably just be storytelling in general.
Did you come from a musical family?
Not particularly. My grandmother was a little musical. I'd probably have to credit her for a lot of the influence.
Mhm.
She had a strong choral background, so
But did you do any in high school or college? Did you do any of the? Did you sing inside, some of the smaller pubs, or at the university at different things, or?
um, but I've been singing most of my life. I like
Mhm.
since choir second grade, I think, something like that.
Right.
Um,
But that's a
But
little different than sitting on a stool and
it
being out there
really
in
is.
front of
It really
everybody. And
is.
I mean, you're really putting yourself out there. And it's always interesting. I had a chance in my career working very closely with writers, most of the writers out of Nashville back in the 90s. And we used to do these concerts where we'd invite the writers to come and perform in front of our clients and advertising agencies. This was in Detroit. And you'd hear these people that you never put to the songs that you would
Mhm.
hear. They were all singing most of the hit records you would hear, that they wrote them. And when they sing them, they're different, and not in a bad way. The emotion that they wrote it with really comes out when they sing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And what I love about music in general is like somebody will take that exact same song, sing the exact same notes, but it'll tell a completely different story.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the fascinating things about these guys coming out of Nashville, especially in the 90s, a lot of songs were sung by a country artist. The same song was sung by a rock artist. Then it would be sung by a rhythm and blues artist. I mean,
Yeah.
and many of them had hits with the same songs. It was just, different interpretations. And in your case, I don't know enough about music to go really deep with this conversation, but it sounded like you had different changes in the rhythm and the time of the music.
Mhm.
You go from probably a 4/4 beat to a I don't know, a 5/4 beat or whatever. Just those kinds of things that I don't know if you can write that and play it that way, or you play it that way because that's the way you feel it when you're performing.
Mhm. I mean, I think they're both, honestly. I love taking somebody else's song and creation and just kind of making part of it my own. I
Hmm.
in one of my bands, I'm in a band with my friends. We just kind of have a fun time, so we call ourselves the Fun Time Band. But I have a propensity of just like taking a song and playing it in the most extreme genre that it isn't even close to, just to see how we can do it, how we can mix it up, how we can change it, how we can add a little bit of our own flavor to it.
Sure. Well, I think if you think back, you probably watched the American Idol. I can't think of the guy's name who played with Journey for a short time.
Oh, yeah.
But he did Ring of Fire, and I think that got him. I don't think he won Idol that year. I think he came in second. He had the really high pitched voice,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he sang Ring
Adam
of.
Lambert, right?
Yeah, Adam Lambert. I mean, I was when you're in the industry and you hear somebody do that, and you sit back and go, man, that's how creative was that? As good as
Mm,
Johnny Cash made that a hit, he completely changed it.
yeah, yeah. That's another thing I love about music.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. We've got about a minute and a half left. Anything else, Mason, that we didn't cover about you that you'd like folks to know about who you are and what you're all about?
I mean, I don't do it anymore, but, around 3 years ago, I was a professional thumb wrestler for
Yeah, I remember that.
a
Was,
long stint of
okay,
time.
you've got a minute to
I love
explain
sharing
that.
that. Basically, all the pageantry of wrestling,
Yeah.
but when it comes down to throwing down, we did it with our thumbs. But we would throw each other through walls and tables and dress up in costumes. Quick plug, NDWA, National Digit Wrestling Association on YouTube. Like,
It's a real
just
thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a,
When
it's
you
a
need
real
a
thing.
quick laugh, go on there. It's
So
a
you
lot.
like pick up folding chairs and clobber each other over the head
Oh
with
yeah,
them, and
oh yeah,
and,
oh
and
yeah.
go
We
back
got
to
to throw 'em at
thumbs.
the riff for a bit. It was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm not sure I ever really understood that, but
I
it
was
was
part of it and I didn't understand it, Scott. So
it was pretty
it was a
amazing.
lot of
How
fun.
do they find you online?
Oh man, Mason on the radio on Facebook. You know what? Email me. I would love to read an old fashioned email. Mason at 929 The Beat. I would, if I get enough of them, I might read them online or on air. We'll see.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I can't. I hope you can share one with me when you get one. If it comes off of the show, I think that'd be great. I want to thank my guest Mason Dustin Males, who is the afternoon host on 92.9 The Beat. Every day, Monday through Friday, you can hear him, and hopefully, you get to see him out in the public when he's singing and performing because he's quite the performer.
Oh, one
Uh,
more plug, Scott, if I
oh
can.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Every Thursday and Friday night, Thursday's open mic at Gailey's. You can come sing with me. And then Fridays we do karaoke. So
I'm not
it's
sure I'll
nice. I'll see
sing
you
with
next.
you, but I'll certainly,
Oh, come on, Scott.
enjoy. I'll certainly enjoy it. I want to thank my producers Taylor Worley and Jay Stevens, as well as all of you for joining us today. If you happen to miss any or part of today's program, you can find it in its entirety on our MidwestFamilySpringfield.com website, the AroundTheOzarks.com site, our new app for ATO, which can be found in Apple apps or Android apps, and you can hear and view today's show as well as all the earlier shows this year and last. I'm Scott Meier, and remember, every day's a gift. Enjoy life. Thanks again, Dustin. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Scott.